things Second Amendment, concealed carry, the latest gear, reciprocity, legislation, the right to self-protection. It shall not be infringed. This is Eye on the Target Radio with your hosts, Rob and Amanda.
Well, hey there, folks. Here we are. Rob and I are in. Here we are. We're in Detroit, Michigan, so we're on the road. So our show may sound just a smidge different because the acoustics are not in studio. They are on the road. But with technology and gear, it's pretty darn amazing where you can produce a show so that you can be the guy on the street.
You know, I was here minding my own business, and finally 5 minutes into it, she points at the camera and told me that people are watching me.
I'm minding my own business. I just didn't want you to sleep it. There you go.
Who knows what I've been thinking more.
I don't think it works that way. No, we've been good. You've been socially acceptable. There's all that. So tell folks why we are in Detroit.
Well, we came to Detroit. Rick Hector had a shooting event for women. We came to help out.
Go team. So
I all over the country to help out with this. A couple years ago, he was trying to set a record.
Well, I'm pretty sure he set the record. He was just trying to beat his own record progressively year after year.
He was really
hammered out.
But he really had ladies all lined up for thousands of them in 2 days.
I think that it was 1,900, not quite 2,000 women that were trained at 2 ranges over the course of 2 days with a series of volunteer instructors. And that was, it was either 2020, 2021, somewhere right in there was the peak year.
It was a pretty big deal. Since then, they've kind of toned down to a normal pace instead of this beehive run at it.
Well, you know, he attributed it to a couple different things. One is so many people were locked down. So what could they do? They got to stay at home, watch the news, see things, and the news frankly scares the jeepers out of you. And so
the job is if it wasn't scary, it would be reported about.
Right. Well, if it bleeds, it leads. You know, that kind of thing. But the real belief is that 24-hour news cycle scares people so badly that they've got to take action, some kind of action, whatever that is. And because of that, there were tons of women that came.
There's a lot of ladies come in. They're kind of afraid of what to expect because they don't have a baseline for this. Once they get in there and realize that it's actually fun, some of them want to run back around the end of the line and
go again. I'm getting back on that roller coaster. So, I think you're right about that. I think that the beauty of what Rick Hector is doing, the absolute beauty of it, is that people, and maybe it's not all people, maybe it's just the less than brave people, they want to know what to expect when they go to have an experience.
I think everybody does. Otherwise they wouldn't sell so many books and videos and stuff on self-help and how to and all that kind of stuff.
Well, I want to know what it's like when you go into a store. I want to know what it's like when not necessarily when you go to a store, but when you go negotiate for a car. What's that experience going to be like? So your first trip into a gun shop is sort of that same thing. So you've got some idea what to expect. How are they going to treat you?
Well, in some places,
how is all of that?
The price they're asking is just a suggestion, and then you can beat them down from there. And other places, this price they're telling you is kind of written in stone, and there's no beating anybody down at all about it. So knowing what you can and can't do.
Well, but I think a brand new gun owner, it isn't even about price. It is about how are they going to treat me when I walk in the door. What are they going to ask me? Are they going to ask me questions I don't know the answer to? Do I, you see guns and they all look different. Which one do I want? How do I know which one I want?
Just buy one, and then when you decide you like something else, buy it too, and then pretty soon
you have a collection. There you go. And the cause is then you have a collection. But I think that what Rick's program really does is it's kind of like, look, you come with hundreds of your friends, and everybody's having the same experience, so it's not so scary.
If they come, a lot of times it's like a mother-daughter or a couple of girls that are about the same age that are coming as friends or something, and they kind of pop each other up. They go through a little impromptu meeting at the beginning where they talk about safety and what to expect and what, like wearing ear protection, eye protection, and this and that.
I mean, because it really is, as crazy as it is, it's kind of in depth. You know, if you don't have proper hearing protection, or if you have hearing protection that you don't know how to put on, so how do you take muffs and make sure that they're seated and sealed around your ears? How do you take plugs and make sure that they actually fit in your ear and they're not just sort of there and then they pop out, you know?
Well, and it's doesn't make for an enjoyable shooting experience if you don't have earplugs or the earplugs you have aren't working. So as soon as the gun goes off, it's no longer fun.
Right, but at the same time, you're sitting there going, you know, that's such a rudimentary thing. But if you don't know what you don't know, you get in there and it's like, what do I do with these?
Well, they tell you, don't put nothing in your ear that's smaller than your elbow, but then they
hand you
these little things, and it's like, how far in can they go before I can't get them back?
I have to say that I have, in all of my time with people with earplugs, I have only seen one person that we had to get tweezers, because it was like, how did they get in there that far? I mean, your ear channel typically stops it from doing a full submersion.
Usually they're like little log splitters, so then they're pushing your head apart and they come back out on their own. Anyway, so
there is that. But the safety talk, it covers hearing protection, the value of good eye protection. Why are you wearing glasses that have an ANSI rating on them? And
right, especially on the indoor range, because you get some splashback from the range, stuff like this. But you never know when. I mean, you're holding an item that has explosions in it in front of your face, so you never know when something may fly out of it or off of it. Also,
or the explosion becomes it instead of explosion in it. It becomes it, right?
Right. So it's always best to have your safety gear in place, because you never know when that's going to happen. Usually, when you're not ready for it, that's how that stuff happens.
Right. So this is it takes the unknown. It takes what you don't know or expect. You don't know what to expect, and it walks you kind of through it. So which means that they've had the experience then of knowing how the gun shop's going to treat them, that they're all friendly in there, that they're not going to ask them tough questions, they're not going to treat them badly. And I mean, because logically it makes sense that they're not going to treat you badly, because they want you to come in and then they want you to come back, and each time they want you to bring your money, right? I mean, because that's what they're there for, is to sell you product and provide you a service. But guns are so intimidating that sometimes you don't think through that part of it. So the beauty of what Rick does is that he takes in Detroit, in Taylor, Michigan, in underserved communities, and he's like, here, let me show you how, let me help you how take that first walk.
And they go in and shoot, they come back out, they hold their target up so people can take a picture of them and stuff, and they're all smiles, and it's amazing how good some of them are.
Some of their targets, and how good those targets look.
Maybe what it should have is a target should be a t-shirt, and that way they can wear it and they'll say, mess around and find out later on that.
Right, that don't mess with me thing, right? There is. I'll tell you, I did see some pretty cute T-shirts coming through the line, but when you have independent thinkers, they are absolutely adorably cute. But the walk through this is it gets everybody prepared for what is an experience with a gun shop. I mean, I know that for me, being a female that have gone into gun shops, I mean, there's times when I feel like they were like, who are you and what do you want?
I've always been going to gun shops since I was a little kid, and one time I took my friend to the gun shop. I was going to buy something on a payday, and we went in there, and the guy behind the counter at that time, this was probably 30 years ago, he was really friendly, he got what I wanted and everything. We did a transaction, and then when we left, Jeff was like, that guy is so mean to me when I go in there. He
by himself.
He doesn't want to talk to me. He's like he just growls in the back room and stuff. And he says, "There's a completely different person when you were in there than with me." So.
And that, you know, and that's a fear that everybody's got. Is I'm going in a place where I don't know things, you know, and I'm depending on I equate going into the gun shop the first time to buying a car, where you're pretty sure that they're just out to say how much money's in your wallet, I want it all, right? And so going into a gun shop where they treat you respectfully, they answer your questions, they let you touch things. That I think is the beauty of what Rick's program provides, is that comfort and confidence that they know what they're doing. So we'll be back right after this message. Okay, so we are back, and this is where we do the history section. And so I know that you have a history topic because I heard you today sitting there holding court with all the different instructors that were at the Ector event, and you were talking about the history of the transition from black powder to smokeless powder. And it's always interesting because you guys, all of our listeners know that this stuff just kind of comes out of Rob's head. One of the trainers out of New York State was like, wow, this would make a really good radio show. And it's like, well, yeah, this is what he does.
Well, it's early on, they used black powder, and then in 1880, the French came up with smokeless powder. It was kind of funny because at the time they had smokeless and noiseless powder, they called it, because the old black powder made a huge boom at the time. So they felt that this new gunpowder was so dramatic that it was going to stop warfare altogether, because if you couldn't see where the enemy was from with the smoke cloud, or you couldn't hear the guns were going off, then it was.
Imagine now where we've got silencers and all that stuff. It's a little different.
Well, that's the thing, is every new invention they think is good. They got the corner on the market, but we're still mean enough that we're going to use it on each other. So, it's Nobel gives it out the Peace Prize because his brother was experimenting with dynamite to make shaped charges and blew himself up, and that's why
he wants to give a prize using his brother's inheritance for peace as opposed to for war, because the thought of war killed his brother.
Right. So that was part of the reasoning behind his Peace Prize.
Oh, okay.
But anyhow, when the European market and the American market is so different, we don't like the metric system for some reason. I mean,
I've seen people measure things by 3 lengths of a banana versus grains of rice versus, all kinds of things, as opposed to the true metric system of measurement.
Well, it's funny because, even the American military, they used the metric American screws in their guns clear back into the 1800s. So it would have an American diameter, but a metric pitch on the threads and stuff like this. When the gun industry, they make a bullet, say the 358 Winchester. Here they call it 358 Winchester, and over in Europe it's an 8.8 by 51, and if it's got a rim on it, then they would put an R, or so they just add little prefixes and suffixes to them to differentiate one from the other. A 308 Winchester is a 7.62 by 51, and a 3030 is a 7.62 by 51R. So they don't look like anything alike. They're not interchangeable yet. They use the same numbers in Europe, and the Europeans don't have a problem with it. But we in America you would see so many 3030s jammed into 308s that would never.
Right, because they're like, I'm reading the whole thing, and the Americans are like, I read the beginning, I'm good.
Right? It's in the same green box.
Oh my, that is so true. I mean, when we had the gun shop, there were people would come in and say, I need the yellow and green box. Well, and it's like, that's a manufacturer, not a style. Or it'd be like, I go to a car dealership and say, I need a red car. Because I want one just like they had. I want a red car. Right? No, that's not how it works.
The other thing is like the American way of doing something. We drill a hole in the barrel and then we rifle it out to our largest diameter, whatever. Say like a 308 is going to be a 308 diameter. 3006 is the same 308 diameter. The English, on the other hand, they would drill the hole in the thing at, say, like a 293, and then they would pull the rifling out to 308. Well, they would still call it a 293 instead of the.
Okay. So they're calling it the drill diameter, and we're calling it the maximum OD diameter.
Right. So both of them. So we would. The 7mm Mauser in England is a 275 Rigby. So the same interchangeable cartridge, they're just 275 is the hole they drill before they start to make it to. They pull it up to 284, and here in the U.S. They call it 7x57 Mauser, but it's a.
So okay, I'm gonna squirrel. So where does Rigby come in?
Well, it was just an English manufacturer that makes but they make high-end guns, but to just the way they do their different things. The English, a lot of this stuff doesn't really make a lot of sense. They have a 455 pistol cartridge, but a 476 is the same bullet as the 455. There's just whether it's a commercial or military designation for the.
Okay. Okay. So a couple of our listeners who are actively engaged on YouTube, they are saying that you should write a book, and whatever's in your head could definitely fill a book. And I'm like, you guys, whatever's in his head would scare you. He would go off the rails to such an extent that we would never be able to get that train back on the tracks.
You know, the funny part is after the Civil War, the rimfire was a very popular thing. They made rimfire guns from 4mm up through a 1-inch diameter. And they realized later on that because they have to crush the case to get the thing started, that was the weak spot, and it would eventually eat the rifle up where the firing pin, the gases come out around the firing pin mark or something. So the rimfire was short-lived in that period, except for small, like 22 caliber stuff. They stuck with like 25s and 32s up through about World War I. After World War I, most of the rimfire stuff went away except for the 22 Magnum. I can see with the cost of bullets and the cost of reloading, the rimfire might be a way to come back at some of this. They might rethink this in the 25 or 30 caliber, 32 caliber rimfire stuff, because it would be much cheaper for ammo, and it would still give you a gun that's of a size that is usable for hunting or something that you wanted. If you weren't a reloader and didn't need all the fancy reloadable cartridge cases and stuff like that.
Interesting.
Okay. So
I'm going to explore that some more because that doesn't disposable doesn't necessarily mean cost effective. So, but we're out of time. We'll be back right after these messages.
Grab your friends and head to Georgia to train with the Complete Combatant. The Complete Combatant offers a unique approach to self-defense training, layering the first signs of danger, lethal versus non-lethal decisions, and even surviving the aftermath. They offer premier firearms training with a Rangemaster certified instructor and host the top minds in our industry. See the courses offered on thecompletecombatant.com. That's thecompletecombatant.com.
When people use a firearm in self-defense, they could be arrested or sued and face extensive legal costs. Firearms Legal Protection provides uncapped legal defense for any member who uses a legal weapon in defense of themselves or others, providing members with peace of mind in these difficult situations by covering all attorney fees and other benefits. Use code EOTT at firearmslegal.com for a discount on all membership plans. Protect yourself. We'll protect you.
Okay, you ask yourself, who is this Realize Firearms Awareness Coalition and what do they do? Realize Firearms Awareness Coalition is a not-for-profit group based in Portage County, registered as a 501c3 and organized to educate about the historical intent of the Second Amendment to the Constitution of the United States of America, to share knowledge to enable citizens to accurately relate and defend aspects of the U.S. Constitution, raise public awareness and support for responsible gun ownership, and to emphasize firearms education for women who facilitate the transmittal of constitutional awareness and gun ownership to succeeding generations. How do they intend to do that? By talking to you all and having you talk back, by hosting educational summits and events. So tune in, listen, and participate. RealizeFAC.com.
This This is Cheryl Todd of Gun Freedom Radio, and I am proud to join Amanda Seffacool and all the 50 women, one from each state, in our grassroots efforts to protect the Second Amendment as delegates of the DC Project. Grassroots organizations like the DC Project run on donations, so please consider donating to our GoFundMe/DC Project to keep the promise of freedom alive.
Shotgun with Charlie. I'm Charlie Cook from Riding Shotgun with Charlie. Conversations in the car about gun safety, freedoms, and even a few laughs. Imagine you're in the back seat listening to an intimate chat with me and my passengers as we drive all around the country. Listen, watch, and subscribe to the Riding Shotgun with Charlie YouTube channel and podcast.
Ladies, ever wish you could find a brand that understood the difference between feminine and functional? A brand that didn't make you choose between looking good and looking tough. Check out offhandgear.com, a brand designed by a gun girl/mom that closed the gap to give you feminine, durable, functional gear. Offhandgear.com, the brand that gets you.
Your front door, your car, your gun. Safety is a habit. Gun safety and responsible storage are no different, and the best way to help prevent accidents, misuse, and theft. Cable locks help keep firearms secured. Learn how to get a free firearm safety kit. Visit projectchildsafe.org. If you have a firearm, own it, respect it, and secure it. Brought to you by the National Shooting Sports Foundation and the Bureau of Justice Assistance.
Okay, so as we come back, one of the things that you said was that you thought that if we started to make rimfire ammunition in some larger calibers, that it would be more cost effective. And how in your mind does that go together if we're making a disposable product? How does it get more cost effective than recycling?
It's much less product into that cartridge cases. They're just stamping out a disposable case, then one that they're going to possibly reload a couple different times. Some of these cases cost $1, $2 for just the cartridge case itself. You're buying it to reload.
Because you've got to make it, and there's extra machining.
So they got to draw it all out. Everything's got to be pretty tight tolerances on the thing, and the quality of the brass has got to be held at a certain thing, because it may go through one firing, but will go through 6 firings or 10 firings, where if you have a rimfire one, you know it's only going to go through 1 firing. So also too, there's so many polymers today. I don't know why they can't convert the casing to some type of polymer that would actually either burn up when it's being fired, or be
But didn't they try?
Disintegrated once the sun hits it playing outside.
Okay, so I don't know about the biodegradable, UV, non-UV resistant. But didn't they try that with like 223 ammo, making it with a brass bottom and plastic
bodies on them? They're not. They don't burn up and use that as part of the gunpowder or something.
But if it did something like that. Yeah,
folks, sorry,
we're heading off in really crazy land here. But if they did something like that, wouldn't that frankly burn away, score the inside of your barrel where the flame is?
Depending on how it burned or what it, and also too, sometimes they can take measures with coatings or different things to allow for that in the because it's to happen in a split second. So it's
right.
It's not like it's a blowtorch that's in there for a half hour.
Okay, got it. Well, but also, I mean, that's an interesting concept.
The military's always been looking for a caseless ammo of some kind, or ammo that burns up as it goes. Because if you think about it, if you're carrying 200 bullets on, it's one thing, but if you're loading 50,000 rounds into an aircraft, if you didn't have to throw 60% of it out the window when you were done shooting it,
If it so if it weighed less because you were consuming all of it and all of it was usable,
then you can
consumable.
put more ammo in the plane at the same time.
Well,
so,
that makes sense. Because the other thought I had was I was someplace recently, and I was sitting there across. It was at dinner, and I was sitting across from this person, and they're like, "Wait! This is not a paper straw." So the conversation where they'd gone from straws from plastic to paper, this restaurant had gone to a straw that looked like it was made out of macaroni. Right? We looked up the manufacturer, and so we're sitting there using the Google machine at the restaurant trying to figure out what the straw was made out of, but it was made so that when it got thrown away, because they're single use, that it would biodegrade in the sun and go away, or it would dissolve in the ocean and go away. And so the concept that they're using that to make straws that are sitting there in the moisture, could they use macaroni to make to make part of the casing, so that even if they couldn't get the weight down for the military, they could at least get it to where the disposable consumable part is not using as much resources.
Right, that's the thing. There's a lot of different reasoning why you would want to do it one way over the other. The thing is guns really haven't changed a lot since when they first built them.
No.
It was about 1874 they decided what a bullet would look like, and when that guy's design kind of won out, then they've stuck with that design all the way through. There's not been much change. So we could easily come up with a new idea if somebody put their head to it, but it's nothing really says
your listeners think that you're pretty smart, so we could kind of start there.
Well, nothing says that the gunpowder and everything has to be in the case. It could be that the bullet goes in by itself, and the gunpowder is stored somewhere else and loaded in.
Ooh, like fulminated mercury kind of stuff.
It could just be regular your gunpowder, but it goes into a charge chamber, and then when it's fired off of there, it shoots the bullet out, but then it's all gone, and it just reloads another charge into that charge chamber.
Okay, so whoever wants to call Rob to work on some R&D, his head's always swimming.
Spark to light the whole thing off, and the only thing you do, you just fill up your gunpowder hopper and hope that it never backfires through the whole thing is all.
That would wreck your airplane. Just saying, one spark back, could wreck your airplane. So yeah, that's crazy.
Yep, like good seals is all. That's
make sure it's right to begin with. So okay, so let's move on to some of the well.
Here's something I wanted to talk about.
Oh, okay.
I seen that you had posted some stuff on Facebook, and right away, because you're an NRA board of director thing, everyone jumps on with what about Wayne? What about Wayne? You've had that badge for a month and a half or something.
Okay.
They got to give people time to do something. And why don't we have an idea instead of what about Wayne? What would be some idea that they have that would make the NRA better or more user friendly, or instead of what about Wayne? We don't care what about Wayne.
Well, I think that the interesting answer is. And I tell folks that there's a lot of moving parts to this. No matter what happens to the NRA and where it was and where it came from, Wayne's reputation is going to be measured by this very end of his career and not the beginning. He's been at the NRA for 30 years.
Well, and a lot of these people are aging out. Their attrition is going to change this top tier eventually. Give them a little bit of time.
Well, there is that, but think about, there's stuff that you read, and I have to say that as an NRA board member, and I know that this weekend there's a couple of other new board members that were here. Rick Ector is a brand new board member. Charlie Beers came in from New York as a new board member that's helping here at Rick's event. And we didn't really talk about this at all. But look at when you hear something, who benefits from what you're hearing? because the NRA is being sued by the state of New York. Every town for gun safety wants the NRA taken down. There's fighting inside the NRA. There are all of these things. So I believe that I and every other NRA board member has a fiduciary duty to make sure that the information that they're getting is not slanted. It is not. If you get all your news from CNN, right, you're positive that you've got all the information because CNN told you. But did you really? And
there's CNN's version of it.
Well, there's a grain of truth to it, or there's something, and there's stuff that says you got to dig and look, but each board member has a fiduciary duty to the NRA first and foremost, to the organization, to the 150 some odd years of history, not to a singular person. But at the same time, I am not going to offer up somebody's head on a platter because somebody else is sitting there chanting, what about? Because I just don't think it's not fair, it's not reasonable, and there's not data to support it.
Well, the NRA has been there since 1871. They started out as an organization to teach people to shoot because the generals during the Civil War realized that the city kids coming out of Chicago and New York and this really didn't have much rifleman skills. And so they were hoping to boost these rifleman skills across the country. And it's gone through some changes over the years. And as with everything, gun laws for a long time, we were all about trading. It's like we never just said no. We just said, well, we'll take the lesser of whatever you got to offer, and they would go with that. And so it's things are changing in the country. I think that when the 94 crime bill went away in 2010 or 2004,
yeah,
it was
94 to 2004 crime.
But that was like the first time that they had ever actually repealed any gun laws and stuff. And we didn't really realize it was possible until then.
Right, we've just been taking the hit each time,
well,
you know.
That's the thing. You just take the hit, you block as much as you can, and try to take the littlest bite of this
of the abuse that you were going to get. You're like, let me have the little abuse, not the big abuse.
But
right?
And we all know Bruen is going to take this back for us eventually. It's just going to take it some time. But it's when you listen to people, I mean, listen to the news, listen to your senators, the NRA is still a major force. I mean, they may not have the numbers they used to have, and there's other groups that are starting to encroach on the fact that they're powerhouses in the, especially in the court systems and stuff like this. But the NRA is still the king. Well,
I think there's a couple points to this. I mean, the next largest organization is Second Amendment Foundation. Life members of Second Amendment Foundation also. But they're 1/10 of the size that the NRA is. And they're doing amazing work. I mean, and I spend a lot of time supporting the efforts that they do. Gun Rights Policy Conference, the Bullet, the Weekly Bullet, the Polite Society podcast, you know, the different things that they do because it's amazing work. You're hearing more and more about Firearms Policy Coalition, Gun Owners of America. But what happens is the NRA is kind of the shield, the shield, the elephant in the room that's taking all the bullets. And so these guys can kind of hide behind one of their big thunderous legs and be a whole lot more nimble and do things and accomplish things. And then there's times when the NRA joins them. So a lot of people don't give credit to the fact that Bruen,
your front door, your car, your gun. Safety is a habit. Gun safety and responsible storage are no different, and the best way to help prevent accidents, misuse, and theft. Cable locks help keep firearms secured. Learn how to get a free firearm safety kit. Visit projectchildsafe.org. If you have a firearm, own it, respect it, and secure it. Brought to you by the National Shooting Sports Foundation and the Bureau of Justice Assistance.
Hi, I'm Janelle Westrom, owner of Davenport Guns and Davenport Shooting Club. At Davenport Guns, we do so much more than sell firearms. We advocate for increased personal safety and security, not just for you, but your whole family and community. Go to davenportguns.com to see our online inventory and browse videos, articles, and things we just find entertaining. Sign up for our newsletter to learn more.
This is Cheryl Todd of Gun Freedom Radio, and I am proud to join Amanda Sefcool and all the 50 women, one from each state, in our grassroots efforts to protect the Second Amendment as delegates of the DC Project. Grassroots organizations like the DC Project run on donations, so please consider donating to our GoFundMe/DC Project to keep the promise of freedom alive.
Ladies, ever wish you could find a brand that understood the difference between feminine and functional? A brand that didn't make you choose between looking good and looking tough. Check out offhandgear.com, a brand designed by a gun girl/mom that closed the gap to give you feminine, durable, functional gear. Offhandgear.com, the brand that gets you.
Okay, you ask yourself, who is this Realize Firearms Awareness Coalition, and what do they do? Realize Firearms Awareness Coalition is a not-for-profit group based in Portage County, registered as a 501c3, and organized to educate about the historical intent of the Second Amendment to the Constitution of the United States of America, to share knowledge, to enable citizens to accurately relate and defend aspects of the U.S. Constitution, to enhance public awareness and support for responsible gun ownership, and to emphasize firearms education for women who facilitate the transmittal of constitutional awareness and gun ownership to succeeding generations. How do they intend to do that? By talking to you all and having you talk back, by hosting educational summits and events. So tune in, listen, and participate. RealizeFAC.com.
Shotgun with Charlie.
I'm Charlie Cook from Riding Shotgun with Charlie. Conversations in the car about gun safety, freedoms, and even a few laughs. Imagine you're in the back seat listening to an intimate chat with me and my passengers as we drive all around the country. Listen, watch, and subscribe to the Riding Shotgun with Charlie YouTube channel and podcast.
When people use a firearm in self-defense, they could be arrested or sued and face extensive legal costs. Firearms Legal Protection provides uncapped legal defense for any member who uses a legal weapon in defense of themselves or others, providing members with peace of mind in these difficult situations by covering all attorney fees and other benefits. Use code EOTT at firearmslegal.com for a discount on all membership plans. Protect yourself. We'll protect you.
Okay, so we're back, and so somebody needs to pay attention to the clock just a little more so that I can get the points out that I'm trying to make. You know, this whole radio gag in talking to you guys, it gets so interesting sometimes, and you're trying to build up the basis. But I said something about Bruin, and then we ran out of time.
It's like my dad used to always say about this. If this story gets off track, just stop me because it's so interesting. It's the first time I heard it myself.
I'm paying attention. I'm paying attention to what happened. But no, so I think the NRA is a necessary force. It is necessary. It's been here for 150 some years. It's going to continue to be here. At least if I've got anything to say about it, for another 150 years.
I think
but it's bigger than any one person.
Well, in the long run, I think what we need to do is make it what we want it to be instead of complaining about what it is.
Well, there's so many people who are like, not one more dollar am I giving to the NRA. And I'm like, oh, okay. There are so many other organizations that are doing good work. Have you switched your dollars, or are you just
we're just sitting on them?
Are you just a cheap squeaker that's now got it in your pocket, and you're saying that, but there was really no impact one way or another? And then you had said something else about the membership of the NRA. The net membership, for years, the NRA has not published what their membership is because the joint membership and the voting block are completely different things. How many people ask you when it's time to vote, what issues should they be voting on, what people should they be voting on, and how are they how is it all so you are kind of the pointer.
The old people in the family usually listen, pay attention to what's going on, and so all the younger ones that don't pay attention, they just call and say, what should I do, how should I vote, and so you are one person, but you may be controlling 15 or 20 votes in the long run.
Because you're advising, not controlling, advising.
Right.
There's a completely different connotation to vote control versus vote advisement.
If I say this is what we're doing, this is what we're doing, and so it's
well, and you are now the senior member of the family. I mean, that's
that kind of snuck up on me, and I wasn't ready for it. I wasn't ready. A spot where you got nobody to ask questions to, so now it's all about what do you think, and I don't like my answers.
I don't like my answers. I liked being able to have the resources of going to the older, wiser people with life experience.
But now that I'm older and wiser, I realize that they didn't even know what they were talking about either.
That's crazy. But you're not wrong. I mean, everybody is a creature of their environment. But going back to the point of the complaints about the NRA, it is an organization that there's information that's happening, and frankly, the new board members that were put in 2023 had, the day that they were sworn in, they had a board meeting. They have not had a board meeting since then. The next one comes in the 1st of September. So there's, they haven't
been able to do anything because they didn't even know what they were supposed to do.
The shiny hasn't wore off, right? I mean, they practically aren't out of the cellophane wrapper, right? And so there's all kinds of things, but at the same time, they're out there doing things, and they bring life experiences.
Well, the thing is, if you're an NRA member and you travel at all, go to some of the things. There's a museum in Virginia. There's a rifle range in New Mexico. There's other things going on around the country. Go to the national matches once. It's an amazing thing to watch, even if you're not shooting, just to
watch it. I mean, you and I were there, big storm rolled in, and they're like, run. And we're like, there is no running.
So you're running a 1,000-yard match field. You're running the full length carrying a aluminum chair lightning rod on your back.
All your gear while the storm is rolling in. So. Exactly. But no, the NRA is involved in so much stuff, and on so many levels that you don't know or you don't see.
Right. And everybody, like it or not, is involved in the NRA. Some don't really show it, but they are. And when you go to the gun shows, they're proud to say they're NRA. They'll give you a discount if you sign up while you're there. There's a lot of history and tradition there. We need to explore it a little more, is all.
Mm-hmm. So it's really funny because today at Rick Ector's event, I'm talking, working my way around, talking to these different instructors who have come from all over, and they're like, okay, so how do you get on the board? What do I have to know? Do I have to know everything? Do I have to know a thing? And it's like, no, you don't understand. One of the reasons why the NRA board is as big as it is that there's experts in a wide variety of fields so that people can bring their life experience, whatever that is. I mean, I do fashion shows. Ronnie Barrett builds guns, right?
Well, and sometimes even if you don't know anything about it, you ask a question that makes the people who do know something about it stop and think in a different direction for a minute and think, we had not even thought of that avenue.
Or they say, we've tried this and that didn't work, and some of us bring experiences, and most of us, everybody brings experiences from other things that they've done, because in a lot of cases, there's not a lot of new things. It is, they're doing it over here in automotive, we can do it here. Or the management of Chick-fil-A manages to move people through their lines so quickly. So can we do something like that when you're at the annual meeting? There's different ways to utilize a benchmark of a skill set.
Everybody hates waiting in line, that's for sure.
Well, There's no doubt about it, especially for my chicken sandwich. You know, there's a whole bunch of that. So there were trainers that came. We're going back to Rick Ector for a minute, because Rick Ector, this program that he's doing, I mean, one of the things we're hoping to have is with these trainers that are coming from everywhere, is to see if they can benchmark it and then do it in their town. I mean, so there's a trainer from Texas, there's a trainer from Jacksonville, Florida, there's one from Philadelphia, so Chicago, Illinois, where
New
else?
York,
Yeah.
from all over the place. They come and watch and talk to each other. Some of them have ideas, and so especially when you're talking about this large of a group of ladies that really have never handled a gun before. So some of them are saying, instead of giving them a whole loaded magazine of 10 rounds or whatever, 15 rounds, to start them off with one bullet Barney, like Barney Fife, to see what they do. If they're real jumpy or they tend to drop the gun or whatever, you don't have a loaded gun in this situation at this point. And so some ideas are good, some ideas not so much, and you just work your way through to pick out the best ones that are going to work for.
Exactly. And so in all of these trainers, it's another group. They all have different experiences that they bring in, and they're like, this works for me, what about for you? So I was, so there were some that they were trying to do something, and I was like, this is how I show a lady how to get a good grip on her gun with her second hand, so in a way to where her thumbs don't get behind the semi-auto slide, because that's typically where things go south pretty quickly. And and when I invoke Kermit the Frog and Miss Piggy in the conversation, so my method of getting a grip when you're showing a brand new shooter is to have them come in with their support hand and karate chop up under and to the trigger guard. And so if they do that, then they can't get their thumb behind and everything is thumb forward.
Do people who are 25 years old know who Miss Piggy and Kermit the Frog are anymore? That's the...
Oh yeah, there's harness violence in there. It's still on the TV for them. So it's funny, because when you were like, here, what about this? And then I showed how I mark their hands. If they don't remember, I showed them how they mark their hands. I go back out later. Dana's outside showing women the grip, and he's got marker marks on all the contact points that I told him about. So he's marked his own hands so he can show them where it is. And it's like, wow, this is good. This is amazing. We'll be back right after these messages. Talk more about it.
Okay, you ask yourself, who is this Realize Firearms Awareness Coalition, and what do they do? Realize Firearms Awareness Coalition is a not-for-profit group based in Portage County, registered as a 501c3, and organized to educate about the historical intent of the Second Amendment to the Constitution of the United States of America, to share knowledge, to enable citizens to accurately relate and defend aspects of the U.S. Constitution, to enhance public awareness and support for responsible gun ownership, and to emphasize firearms education for women who facilitate the transmittal of constitutional awareness and gun ownership to succeeding generations. How do they intend to do that? By talking to you all and having you talk back, by hosting educational summits and events. So tune in, listen, and participate. RealizeFAC.com.
You hit the radio bullseye. And the home for everything Second Amendment, concealed carry, the latest gear, reciprocity, legislation, the right to self-protection. It shall not be infringed. This is Eye on the Target Radio with your hosts, Rob and Amanda.
So, okay, folks, we're back, and we're live from Detroit. Rob and I made a road trip up here to help Rick Actor and do his ladies shooting event. So, one of the times when I walked into the trainer room, there was a conversation taking place with Rick and a bunch of the trainers saying, if Rick renamed this, what would he rename it? And it's like, well, whatever it is, it needs to be something that is easier to find than ladies shooting event, because that's so universal that it's everywhere. So it needs to be unique. And so there was this, they were
brainstorming all different kinds of acronyms and whatever.
And Rick is a big one for trying to take the first letter from whatever he's doing and using that to make an acronym. And so his organization, and you guys just have to get your own pencil and do this. His organization is called Legally Armed in Detroit. And so he uses those 4 letters for his acronym. And so we were like, we've got nothing that we can offer that is going to be as punny as Legally Armed in Detroit came out to be. And it was like, man, Rick. So I don't know what he's going to call it or what he's going to name it, but I would think that if he named it something a little easier to know.
I've been in Detroit numerous times, but I never realized it. Back in the day when I was part of the KISS Army, I thought that Detroit was the rock and roll capital of the world, and then Cleveland claimed that.
Claimed it, but no, that's Motown. Detroit has Motown. They're not rock and roll, but okay.
But that, not according to KISS. They were party every day and
all night long. Yeah, okay, got it. I didn't. Okay, yeah. So all of that. So looking at the trainers, we talked about them coming from all over the country, but did you pay attention to the organizations that they were from?
No, but it's funny that everyone comes dressed. Some of them have an actual uniform that looks like they work at the airport or something, and glow-in-the-dark stripes. And
well, some of them look like they're a parking lot attendant, because you're going to see them in their day glow yellow, right? And some of them, they say range staff, and some of them say chief instructor, and so they're coming in their finest.
And a lot of them have like medical credentials and stuff, so they're carrying medical bags, and they got EMT
markings, but they've all got tourniquets, and so they're carrying those. I mean, it's all responsible trainer things, because if something goes bad,
trainer, one that knows how to do that stuff is a plus, because you never know when you might need.
Oh yeah, you're right. I mean, and so it's just kind of cool. And then there was a couple who, when they put on their trainer's gear, it includes bulletproof plates. So there were a couple that they are turtles in a half shell.
We got into this, 2003, 2002,
yeah. Mm-hmm.
And it was recommended to us at that time to get armor.
Right. So our instructor, our training counselor.
When you're teaching old people to quick draw, they recommended bulletproof.
Our training counselor wore bulletproof vests when he trained us, and we were like, I mean, we're used to, as somebody said, we're used to starting out as a sandpit shooter, So you were out somewhere where you knew that your bullets were safe, but you and a bunch of people that had firearm skills were teaching one another, kind of thing. And so I can remember the thoughts that rolled through my head when they told me to wear a bulletproof vest and that, and it was like, yeah, I don't know that I want to play there, right? I don't know. I mean, it's wise.
Well, the thing is, I think some of it, as you prepare in that direction, all of a sudden it changes your mindset to the fact that the job's dangerous instead of it being fun. And I mean, and there's nothing more fun than when you go in front of a group of people, you show them something, and you see them get what you're showing them.
Oh, you see their eyes light up, and you get the aha moment. Yeah.
Right, they're able to do what you showed them to do without a problem, and then you can step up to the next level of what you want to show, instead of always being in fear of the fact that one time something might happen to you. It's like, well, why?
And you're like, when your number's up. No, I don't. You do everything you can you do everything you can to be as safe as you possibly can. But I think there's a fine line between preparedness and paranoia, and being a turtle in the half shell, to me, steps me over that line.
I think that paranoia takes the fun out of it, and it makes it a job at that point, maybe.
Right. I mean, I wear a seatbelt in my car, but I didn't add that extra, that multi-hitch seatbelt adapter that you can add just in case, right? I ride a motorcycle, and they have motorcycles with airbags, and I'm like, yeah, again, there's this line somewhere there, and I'm not in it. Besides that, I know that an airbag is a controlled explosion, and thinking about being on top of the controlled explosion while you're in the middle of a motorcycle wreck, I'm not sure that makes it any better. I'm just saying. I'm not quite sure.
Like having an air ejection seat out of a jet put on your motorcycle, so it just shoots you above the action, huh?
Right, there's that. Video producer says anyway. Just because I'm paranoid doesn't mean they aren't out to get me. Not wrong at all. But so not only were these folks from all over the country, they were from different organizations. So Second Amendment Foundation was represented. As we talked about, the NRA was represented, not only with members, but board members. And Doctors for Responsible Gun Ownership, DRGO. The DC Project had a plethora of girls, actually from Ohio, from Michigan, from Illinois, Wisconsin, all had come.
Faster Saves Lives was there. Gun Owners of America.
Right. Firearms Legal Protection. There were a couple companies talking about their stuff. Gun Owners of America had booths at both of the ranges. They were talking to everybody that was there. They have the cutest T-shirt designs. I'm telling you, I'm I know you go for cute T-shirt designs, don't you? Those are the thing that drive you.
Not really.
I got it. But there's some pretty cute designs, and so I'm thinking I have to add to my collection of T-shirts. But then people are like, don't wear gun T-shirts places because people will know you have a gun. I'm like, I'm on the radio, I'm on TV, I'm known all over the county. They pretty much assume that I have a gun wherever I am. So whether my T-shirt has a picture of Antonia Okafor on it or not, they're going to assume I have a gun. We'll just say that. So, yeah. I think the other cool thing was, did you get any tips and tactics from a different trainer while you were listening to them? Because they would be out teaching, and then they have a break, and those breaks, there was a lot of shop talk that was taking place in the trainer's room.
Well, what I was talking to some of the guys that were there for the first time this year. I've been here a couple of years, and it was surprising. They were expecting people came to shoot, and then when they get up there, they would realize that once they got in position and they held the gun, maybe that shooting wasn't for them, and that would be it. They would want to stop right there, or they want to shoot one or two shots and then quit. And they were kind of surprised at this. But if you've never shot before, or you've only been involved with the bad side of shooting, one or two shots is more shots than you have fired in the past. So
and it's a big step for them to take that step, and the sheer bravery to that step.
So by letting them shoot their one or two shots and talking them through it, and then let them go, let them think about it. They can come back next year and talk it over, and maybe try it again, shoot a couple more shots, and see what they.
Well, I know last year we had a gal who came on Saturday, and she had such a good time that she gathered her 3 sisters and came back on Sunday, right? And so I didn't hear any of those stories this week, but it's still young. So tonight tonight all the instructors get together as like an after action, and so you get the final counts of how many women were impacted, how many shots were fired, just all of that kind of stuff.
There was every age group there, from just old enough to have a gun to. There was a gal in a wheelchair.
There was a couple of gals that were like they're in line. They're like, I need a chair, right? So they moved their chair with them up the line. But that's cool. I mean, that is way cool. So let's talk a little bit about. We'll talk about it in the next segment. Just hold steady. It'll be all good, and I won't walk right over top of the time slot this time. I promise. I absolutely promise. You're listening to Eye on the Target Radio with Rob and Amanda, live from Detroit. We'll be back.
Grab your friends and head to Georgia to train with the Complete Combatant. The Complete Combatant offers a unique approach to self-defense training, layering the first signs of danger, lethal versus non-lethal decisions, and even surviving the aftermath. They offer premier firearms training with a Rangemaster certified instructor and host the top minds in our industry. See the courses offered on thecompletecombatant.com. That's thecompletecombatant.com.
Hi, I'm Janelle Westrom, owner of Davenport Guns and Davenport Shooting Club. At Davenport Guns, we do so much more than sell firearms. We advocate for increased personal safety and security, not just for you, but your whole family and community. Go to DavenportGuns.com to see our online inventory and browse videos, articles, and things we just find entertaining. Sign up for our newsletter to learn more.
Your front door, your car, your gun. Safety is a habit. Gun safety and responsible storage are no different, and the best way to help prevent accidents, misuse, and theft. Cable locks help keep firearms secured. Learn how to get a free firearm safety kit. Visit projectchildsafe.org. If you have a firearm, own it, respect it, and secure it. Brought to you by the National Shooting Sports Foundation and the Bureau of Justice Assistance.
Shotgun with Charlie.
I'm Charlie Cook from Riding Shotgun with Charlie. Conversations in the car about gun safety, freedoms, and even a few laughs. Imagine you're in the back seat listening to an intimate chat with me and my passengers as we drive all around the country. Listen, watch, and subscribe to the Riding Shotgun with Charlie YouTube channel and podcast.
This is Cheryl Todd of Gun Freedom Radio, and I am proud to join Amanda Seppacool and all the 50 women, one from each state, in our grassroots efforts to protect the Second Amendment as delegates of the DC Project. Grassroots organizations like the DC Project run on donations, so please consider donating to our GoFundMe/DC Project to keep the promise of freedom alive.
When people use a firearm in self-defense, they could be arrested or sued and face extensive legal costs. Firearms Legal Protection provides uncapped legal defense for any member who uses a legal weapon in defense of themselves or others, providing members with peace of mind in these difficult situations by covering all attorney fees and other benefits. Use code EOTT at firearmslegal.com for a discount on all membership plans. Protect yourself. We'll protect you.
Ladies, ever wish you could find a brand that understood the difference between feminine and functional? A brand that didn't make you choose between looking good and looking tough. Check out offhandgear.com, a brand designed by a gun girl/mom that closed the gap to give you feminine, durable, functional gear. Offhandgear.com, the brand that gets you.
We all know rust is bad. To help keep rust from forming on your firearms, tools, and other ferrous-based items, you want to have Rust is Bad in your gun-safe toolbox and anywhere you want to be rust-free. Rust is Bad bolsters and G-strings deposit small, safe particles that coat your rust-vulnerable items. Save your valuable items with Rust is Bad. Go to www.eyeonthetargetradio.com and follow the link for more information. That's www.eyeonthetargetradio.com for Rust is Bad.
Okay, so let's go. Even though you and I have been really focused on what's happening here on the ground in Detroit, there is news in the rest of the world. So
President Joe Biden still hates us, or your gun at least.
He hates your gun. He doesn't know you, so if he knew you, he would hate you. But he doesn't know you, so there is that.
So he hates my gun anyhow.
He hates your gun. Okay.
So he's working. The ATF was hoping to just be able to say something and everybody would comply, and that's not working out for them.
Yeah, they want to be the I am the boss of you, and we're saying you're not the boss of us, right?
So they've finally taken it to the Supreme Court now, and they want to permanently get the Supreme Court to say that the this frame and parts nothing is marked, and your ghost guns and all this stuff are illegal.
So the ATF has rolled over to say, I'm taking it to the Supreme Court because I believe that the Supreme Court will see it the way that we see it. And we're saying, Bruin.
Well, when they do see it, back in the day, Remington started in 1816 making rifle barrels. That's all he made was barrels. He didn't make a whole gun because he didn't have the money or the time or the technology for it. So he just made barrels. People, this guy named LeMan from the Pittsburgh area, who made gun parts, and a lot of times people would just buy that hardware and then make their own stock and build themselves a rifle parts. None of them had serial numbers. Maybe some of the parts were marked, but not all of them were marked, and so this history, text, and tradition is going to come back to
bite them right in the behind. You're right. I mean, there is that. But what's really funny is the ATF is saying that everything that they're doing is based on public safety, and public safety trumps the Constitution. It overrides the Constitution.
Well, the other part of it is that for years, up until 1968, they didn't have to put a serial number on a gun. So a lot of times they did. And if you wanted guns, you could call Winchester and you'd say, I really like the way the Model 67 rifle looks. Can I just buy 300,000 of them with my name on them? And they would make you those rifles and send them to you, and then you could sell them or do what you want with them.
There was a lot of companies that would do that. So the Sears stuff and the Montgomery Ward stuff.
Stevens and Savage and Mossberg, they made probably more guns for Montgomery Wards and Sears and Western Auto and these different hardware companies and that than they actually did with their own company name on them. And none of those guns had serial numbers at the time. They just would change it would be like a Model 43 and then a Model 43B and a Model 43C. So when there was something changed on it, they changed the model number so that they knew that the new one used these particular style of parts instead of the previous parts that were available to them. The 68 Gun Control Act was what made them put serial numbers on guns. The other part of it is if you buy a new gun, they can track that serial number. But give that gun a couple of years out in service where it's been bought and sold a couple times. There's no way for them to
I don't
track
understand this bought and sold thing of which you speak.
But we own a gun shop, and people would come in, buy a gun, they would have it for a couple of weeks, and then they'd come back in and trade it on something else, or buy. Maybe they sold it to their brother-in-law or traded for a chainsaw, whatever they needed at the time, and then they come back in and bought another one later when they had a little more money again. And so some people get one, they keep it for 75 years, and then it never goes anywhere.
But others, they move around.
In most cases, if you go to a gun shop and you buy a Colt from the 1950s, all that paperwork is written down and stored at that gun shop, but that gun may have originally, when Colt sold it in the 50s, they sold it in Connecticut. That guy eventually moved to wherever you're at, and Kentucky or whatever, and then he sold it, ended up in a gun shop or an auction house or something. And especially today with the way that guns are, they sell them on the internet and they ship them all over the country back and forth. So it may have originally sold in the East Coast, but it is now in Central Nebraska somewhere or something. So that it's hard, it's almost impossible for them to track an old serial number like that. But as a gun collector, I can say that the internet was the best thing that ever happened to the
collections.
Because in the old days, a certain amount of Ruger was where we specialized. So early Rugers sold guns in clumps of serial numbers in certain areas. So the closer you were to Ruger, the more likely you were to have a low number gun. So if you were looking for a real early gun, you need to look in that New Hampshire, Connecticut, Rhode Island
Right, because
area.
even if they built 500 guns, the first 50 were shipped to this distributor, the next 50 were this distributor,
Right,
and so they were moving around in that general area.
Think about back in that day, they were shipping them to Montgomery Wards and to Sears and to Kmart and Walmart and all these different little stores because it wasn't like you had to have a gun shop at that time to sell all that stuff.
No, you didn't.
So, but nowadays you can look online and find these guns that are, even if you live in Utah, you can pick up a gun that originally sold on the East Coast, and it's available to you today much easier than the old days.
So back to this, the frame and parts at the Supreme Court level. So the ATF has asked for this to jump over all the circuit courts and just go directly to the Supreme Court for decision.
Completely eliminate all the littler courts. They just want a decision. They said depending on how they do it, and it's going to depend on the Department of Justice and it has to go to Alito first. Mm-hmm. Because it's in his area or something. If he would deny this, then it would go to a board at the Supreme Court, which the sheriff would pick up the thing. So that they're saying they think that Alito will do it. But they're saying probably June of next year is the earliest you're going to see a definition on this, mm-hmm. and at the latest would be June of
2025. So so the Supreme Court typically finishes the docket, empties their stuff, makes their decisions, and publishes in June of each year before they then take their break, their summer break, and not come back until
October.
Yeah, something in there. So it'll be interesting to see and the fact that the ATF believes the Supreme Court is the answer, and we believe that the Supreme Court is going to spank the ATF very heartily, and we're so waiting, absolutely so waiting for that. So when we come back, we're going to talk a little bit more about some of the laws and that. We'll see.
Look at how long.
Lethal versus non-lethal decisions, and even surviving the aftermath. They offer premier firearms training with a Rangemaster certified instructor and host the top minds in our industry. See the courses offered on thecompletecombatant.com. That's thecompletecombatant.com.
When people use a firearm in self-defense, they could be arrested or sued and face extensive legal costs. Firearms Legal Protection provides uncapped legal defense for any member who uses a legal weapon in defense of themselves or others, providing members with peace of mind in these difficult situations by covering all attorney fees and other benefits. Use code EOTT at firearmslegal.com for a discount on all membership plans. Protect yourself. We'll protect you.
Okay, you ask yourself, who is this Realize Firearms Awareness Coalition, and what do? Realize Firearms Awareness Coalition is a not-for-profit group based in Portage County, registered as a 501c3, and organized to educate about the historical intent of the Second Amendment to the Constitution of the United States of America, to share knowledge, to enable citizens to accurately relate and defend aspects of the U.S. Constitution, to enhance public awareness and support for responsible gun ownership, and to emphasize firearms education for women who facilitate the transmittal of constitutional awareness and gun ownership to succeeding generations. How do they intend to do that? By talking to you all and having you talk back, by hosting educational summits and events. So tune in, listen, and participate. RealizeFAC.com.
Ladies, ever wish you could find a brand that understood the difference between feminine and functional. A brand that didn't make you choose between looking good and looking tough. Check out offhandgear.com, a brand designed by a gun girl / mom that closed the gap to give you feminine, durable, functional gear. Offhandgear.com, the brand that gets you.
We all know rust is bad. To help keep rust from forming on your firearms, tools, and other ferrous-based items, you want to have Rust is Bad in your gun-safe toolbox and anywhere you want to be rust-free. Rust is Bad bolsters and G-strings deposit small, safe particles that coat your rust-vulnerable items. Save your valuable items with Rust is Bad. Go to www.eyeonthetargetradio.com and follow the link for more information. That's www.eyeonthetargetradio.com for Rust is Bad.
Your front door, your car, your gun. Safety is a habit. Gun safety and responsible storage are no different, and the best way to help prevent accidents, misuse, and theft. Cable locks help keep firearms secured. Learn how to get a free firearm safety kit. Visit projectchildsafe.org. If you have a firearm, own it, respect it, and secure it. Brought to you by the National Shooting Sports Foundation and the Bureau of Justice Assistance.
Shotgun with Charlie.
I'm Charlie Cook from Riding Shotgun with Charlie. Conversations in the car about gun safety, freedoms, and even a few laughs. Imagine you're in the back seat listening to an intimate chat with me and my passengers as we drive all around the country. Listen, watch, and subscribe to the Riding Shotgun with Charlie YouTube channel and podcast.
Okay, so as we're talking about the ATF and the Supreme Court, one of our listeners says that by going this route, by the ATF saying, I want to jump over the entire courts and go directly to the Supreme Court, maybe the ATF knows something about the Supreme Court that we don't know. That's his comment.
Well, the thing I think is that we don't... nobody really knows about the Supreme Court because Trump put these new people in, and everyone's thinking, oh, they're conservative, but they're not. They're constitutionalists, and so.
And so it's a different game there.
Right, when you look at what the Constitution says versus what
conservatives
the Democrats
want versus
or the Republicans want, there's two different games, three different games being played there, and. I think in the long run they're going to be surprised that the Constitution says what the Constitution says, and
it doesn't say what it doesn't say.
Yeah, you can read it as many times as you want. It's not going to change for them. So I think that we're going to be pleasantly surprised at the end of this. But the other thing is look at how long they've been playing this bump stock game. That it's illegal, it's legal, it's not legal, we don't
so
know.
when did they have us destroy our bump stocks? How long ago was it now?
October of 2017 was when they supposedly used the bump stock.
Okay.
But if you're using a bump stock, it does not work downhill. So when you're on the 34th floor shooting down, it doesn't work.
So you're saying the bump stock theory is just a theory, and it's not the bump stock. It is bump stock.
They didn't need to knock out those windows and build those platforms for a bump stock because you don't need a platform for a bump stock. I believe that they're gonna, if the truth ever comes out, you're gonna find out that it was a 240Gs that were put in those windows to bring this.
Two of them. That was what, like the week that it came out, that was what folks who had those guns and used them as their assigned gun in the military said, I know that sound, I know that noise, that's what that is.
There was two different guns, they were talking to each other. So if you listen, they say, oh, so it was the echo.
Right.
But one was shooting 9 rounds, the next one was shooting 13. There was no echo to it. They weren't gaining or losing round count in their echo.
So there's a pretty interesting thing there, and so
then again, we'll go off track here. So
squirrel, tinfoil hat, all that. Let's switch to a whole nother concept that's in that it's in that arena, but not. So this concept of
the consent to permit entry into the gun background check system. The consent to permit
right now you can sign off. You can sign off your rights to buy a gun.
To self-report, and then you can't ever get them back. You sign off and you say, okay, I will never ever be able to buy a gun again. I know it, and I'll sign it. So there's an argument going on about that. So what is your thought?
Well, for one thing, it's like when you teach kids about what do they want to be when they grow up, and you find out that none of them do what they want to do when they finally grow up.
Right. So I'm going to be a policeman, I'm going to be a fireman, I'm going to be Barbie, and I'm not.
Times change, things change. To say I'm never or I will never is a hard pill to swallow.
So there's a judge. So there's a couple things happening. One is that there's a group that has submitted a FOIA request to find out who has self-reported and who's on that list. The other part is to try to find out who said that was even possible. So they've just kind of created this out of air to say you can self-report, right? So where's the law and the rights, then the ability to do that? So where is the ability to sign a form to give to the government to say you will have this right over me forever? So that's the first piece.
The other thing is, if you look at it, the background check, they call it in, whatever, they cannot show that it actually stopped anyone from shooting anything.
It's done.
They can't say that it saved anybody. They can't say that it didn't save anybody. It's a feel-good movement that really has no reality-based.
Okay. Well, I don't want you to go too far away from this topic because there's a couple points I still want to make before you head off in some random wildcat direction. But did you know? So the questions are: who's done it? Who created this system? Who has the ability to create this system? Can they legally create this system? And then we get into the Hunter Biden circumstance. So recently, in the plea agreement that Hunter Biden had made, that the judge just nixed, and they jettisoned it. But in that plea agreement, there was a statement that says that he has to do a permanent entry into the gun background check system to say that he will never own a gun again. So that was part of what they negotiated. But everybody's going, is that even really legal? But so they're like, but we need a solution to keep Hunter Biden from buying a gun. I got a simple solution. I got a really simple solution. Why don't we find him guilty as a felon?
And put him in jail?
And then this system will magically work. And he will automatically...
If he's always a felon, it'll come up on his record at that point. And so it would stop him from buying
He will automatically be entered into the gun background check system
they could also
by that.
put him in prison for some of the stuff that he's doing, and that would keep him from buying a gun also.
I was like, why do we have to create a whole new system to keep him from doing this when there's a system in place and we just need to utilize it?
Well, we have a nation. We are a nation of laws, and yet we make new laws every day because we choose not to use the old laws.
We're going to make up new ones.
Well, some of the old laws were harsh, and so you don't want to be mean to people. You just want to make them...
we want to do some behavior modification, but we don't want to be mean to them. So there's that. There's people nodding in the background here saying, yes, we do. We want to be mean. We do.
Well, I think that the timeout chair, I've said it over time, timeout chair is on its way out the window. We are
right.
We're going to start being mean to people. You're going to see there's going to be prisoner reform and stuff to actually, can we trust them enough to let them back out again? Or if not, we're going to start hanging on to them
for longer and longer. Yeah, I just saw there was another thing in criminal reform. They were trying to make it unconstitutional and illegal for the what do they call that? The group that puts the parole board. For the parole board to look at somebody who, when they're in jail, is a continual problem, and for the parole board to say, well, I know that the judge gave you
7 to 10 years, and in that whole time you have been such a pain in my keister, in the pain in the court's keister, in the pain in that we're keeping you over the 7 to 10 years. We're keeping you over the 10 years. And they said, you can't do that. And they have just deemed it that, yes, they indeed can. So if you can get time off for good behavior, you can get time added on
for bad behavior.
That you are a creature of the behavior and the actions.
Used to tell you, you better not make her stop the car or things are going to get worse.
Well, there's that. And pick your friends wisely. There is that. Well, I feel like with the Supreme Court issue, Clarence Thomas and Alito, they're like, I'm going to stop this car any minute now.
Did you notice how much they've been on this Clarence Thomas about everything? I mean,
we hate him long time now. Is kind of where the news and
he's not swayed towards their direction, and so now all of a sudden he's bad, so they need to get him out of there and do stuff. So it's his wife is doing something, and they say, well, she's influencing him. Well, everybody's wife influences them one way or the other.
They're saying she's an extension of him, and it's like, really? Is that the game you're going to play here? Because then does that not become every politician's wife, every politician's husband, whatever those relationships are, the news reporters and the ones that are related here or there, or, there's so many things in that sphere of influence.
And then they say, well, Hunter Biden and Joe Biden are two different people, but yet one doesn't have
Clarence Thomas
any
and his wife are not, right? They're the same person, obviously, because just saying that right now they cannot get their story straight as to which thing we want to push, which agenda we want to push, where we want to be. And it's so much fun to watch what's happening in the Second Amendment world, because, these organizations that are fighting for our rights are just crushing it left, right, and center. And the impact is going to be so big in so many places.
If you're a tinfoil hat guy, this is a wonderful time to live, because there's so much stuff in the news that keeps you on your toes. And
so are we going to have to buy a whole nother roll of aluminum foil so you can make a bigger hat and add some more stuff to it?
I'm getting one that plugs in a 220 volt next time.
Oh, that sounds terrifying. We'll absolutely just say that sounds terrifying. So people want you to write a book. Do they want you to write a book about the history of guns, or do they want you to write a book about your tinfoil hat stuff? Because that would be the book that would be kind of interesting to read while nobody's looking. That's it's sort of.
I guess they call it a bathroom reader, right?
Right. You don't want to be seen in public carrying that book. You do not.
The book with the plain brown wrapper.
Right. It's that. It's just got this plain silver cover, and that's it.
It's written in invisible ink that only shows up the line that you're actually reading. The rest of it is all blank.
You got to spray it with a little bottle. The text comes out, then the text goes away again. So, yeah, there's so many options. There's so many options with all of that stuff. So, folks, we are live in Detroit with the Rick and Actor Ladies Shooting event with instructors from all over the country. And it's so much fun to come here and do this, but we'll be back right after these commercials.
Hi, I'm Janelle Westrom, owner of Davenport Guns and Davenport Shooting Club. At Davenport Guns, we do so much more than sell firearms. We advocate for increased personal safety and security, not just for you, but your whole family and community. Go to DavenportGuns.com to see our online inventory and browse videos, articles, and things we just find entertaining. Sign up for our newsletter to learn more.
This is Cheryl Todd of Gun Freedom Radio, and I am proud to join Amanda Sefcool and all the 50 women, one from each state, in our grassroots efforts to protect the Second Amendment as delegates of the DC Project. Grassroots organizations like the DC Project run on donations, so please consider donating to our GoFundMe/DC Project to keep the promise of freedom alive.
Ladies, Ever wish you could find a brand that understood the difference between feminine and functional? A brand that didn't make you choose between looking good and looking tough. Check out offhandgear.com, a brand designed by a gun girl / mom that closed the gap to give you feminine, durable, functional gear. Offhandgear.com, the brand that gets you.
We all know rust is bad. To help keep rust from forming on your firearms, tools, and other ferrous-based items, you want to have Rust is Bad in your gun-safe toolbox and anywhere you want to be rust-free. Rust is Bad bolsters and G-strings deposit small, safe particles that coat your rust-vulnerable items. Save your valuable items with Rust is Bad. Go to www.eyeonthetargetradio.com and follow the link for more information. That's www.eyeonthetargetradio.com for Rust is Bad. Okay, you ask yourself, who is this Realize Firearms Awareness Coalition, and what do they do? Realize Firearms Awareness Coalition is a not-for-profit group based in Portage County, registered as a 501c3, and organized to educate about the historical intent of the Second Amendment to the Constitution of the United States of America, to share knowledge, to enable citizens to accurately relate and defend aspects of the U.S. Constitution, to enhance public awareness and support for responsible gun ownership, and to emphasize firearms education for women who facilitate the transmittal of constitutional awareness and gun ownership to succeeding generations. How do they intend to do that? By talking to you all and having you talk back, by hosting educational summits and events. So tune in, listen, and participate. RealizeFAC.com.
Your front door, your car, your gun. Safety is a habit. Gun safety and responsible storage are no different, and the best way to help prevent accidents, misuse, and theft. Cable locks help keep firearms secured. Learn how to get a free firearm safety kit. Visit projectchildsafe.org. If you have a firearm, own it, respect it, and secure it. Brought to you by the National Shooting Sports Foundation and the Bureau of Justice Assistance.
Grab your friends and head to Georgia to train with the Complete Combatant. The Complete Combatant offers a unique approach to self-defense training, layering the first signs of danger, lethal versus non-lethal decisions, and even surviving the aftermath. They offer premier firearms training with a Range Master certified instructor and host the top minds in our industry. See the courses offered on thecompletecombatant.com. That's thecompletecombatant.com.
So, at this gun range today, I mean, we were at both gun ranges, so we're back and forth because these two ranges donated all of their range time to Rick Ector, which is really pretty darn amazing that there's signs that say, you know, I know you've got a membership, but
the shop's open, but the ranges are closed.
Yeah, come back next week and we'll be good. But there's that. But there they had for the handling one of the glitter guns. So did you get a chance to handle it?
No, I played with them at SHOT Show and stuff. I wonder how tough the glitter is on the thing. We'll see when 10,000 people handle it over the weekend.
Well, that one was very, very handled. And so, you know, they say that in the very, very beginning, a light amount of the glitter finish comes off. And they're like, so is it painted? Is it glued on? Is it what? Well, I'll tell you, it does not react like a glitter prom dress, because all of us ladies are over there, we're holding it and we're looking at it, we're handling it.
So you're not covered in glitter when you're all done?
Exactly, and that was the whole conversation. The floor doesn't have glitter, we don't have glitter on our faces, on our hands, on our eyelashes, where if you've got a glittery prom dress, Katie barred the door, it is a mess in your car for weeks. So none of that. And so the guy that was showing us the gun, he was like, yeah, it says that, the first time I handled it, there was glitter, but now there's not. And I was like, that's what they say. And so it looks like it's pretty tough. But I
well,
think
the thing
it's
that was the ones I played with, they did have a texture to them, so the gun's not slippery. So if you got your hands are cold or wet or anything, you got a good grip on the gun, and you can operate it easily.
that's the point. So it kind of reminds you of Cerakote. Well, and part of it is Cerakoted, and then part of it is this glitter, and it's like the non-skid skateboard tape. You know that?
Right. It was the one that I seen at the shot they were showing off. It was a gold gun, but they had used a purple glitter on it. So when you looked at it, one direction it looked gold, and for the other direction it had like a purple tint to it, and kind of looked like some of the fish when you see them out of the water, how they change color.
How they change color, or how the on vintage cars when they
iridescent.
Yeah, when they street ride a vintage car and you get that flip-flop paint kind of thing where you're looking at it and it's here, it's that color, it's that. Well,
right, it's funny. Some people just need a black gun. They don't want to veer off of the.
Well, they had black glittery guns from the Glitter Gun Company, and I was like, that was absolutely. I mean, it was stealthy glitter. It was pretty cool looking.
Stealthy glitter.
Stealthy glitter.
But I wonder how if flashlight shines on it, does it sparkle or does it do anything like that, or is it?
I don't know, but you're going to get your chance because the DC Project is going to raffle off a teal one, and I'm just saying right now that I'm in. Right, they're so nice looking that I am going to have to try it. Try my hand at that.
I'm not done buying guns, so who knows? I'll end up with a glitter shotgun or something.
With a glittery one. Yeah. So it is. It's so pretty. I think that this company is going to take the market by storm, like Cerakote did. When Cerakote first came out, people were like, painting guns? We don't want no stinking painted guns. We want black guns or blue or black.
The Cerakote actually is a pretty tough product. I had one done years ago, and I am not at all gentle to it. I mean, I lay on it under the car and everything else, and it's got a couple of high spots where it's finally wore back through the turquoise blue to a black.
But it's actually worn not only through the Cerakote, but it's worn through the plastic. I mean, so structurally, the gun, those edges could not support anything.
It's worn off no matter what it was.
You're wearing it round.
But I mean, I've been using that gun for everything. It isn't like I just take it out, shoot it a little bit, wipe it off, and put it away. I ride that thing all the time.
I was going to say, clean a gun, wipe a gun off, put a gun away. Those words are all foreign to you.
That Cerakote originally was supposed to be it's a ceramic coating. It was supposed to be a roofing or topping or something, and then they found out that it works good for coating
for
different things. So
right, I think that's going to take. I think that's going to be one of those changes that takes the industry by storm. So the question I've got is Glitter Gun going to hold the market, or are they going to then franchise it and let other people do it?
Well, a lot of it depends on how much does it cost. If there's money in it, the other guys will figure out a way to squeeze into the market. If they're doing it at the bare bones price, then it's why work for free? So they'll think of something different.
Yeah, I don't know. So I talked to somebody today too about because my next gun, I'm looking for my next gun that I'm going to buy, full size 9mm, and I found the gun that I wanted, which was that FN 509 Elite, and I'm thinking that that's going to be my gun. I'm really thinking that that's going to be my gun, and so people are telling me, people that have FNs are saying that is a good gun. That you want to go for the Elite series, that it is worth whatever premium they get for that to be able to have something. Instead of having the common one, get the Elite one, right? So, I mean...
I just have a common FN.
You have a common. You have the FN common.
I went to a gun shop one day and they had an FNS, and it was Cerakoted in blue. And I was going to buy it, and I didn't. And I went back the next day and it was gone. So I just went online and bought one and had it shipped in to me. But I've been very happy with that gun. I was looking for a full-size gun that I could beat the crap out of, that I don't have to worry about it breaking on me. Because the littler the gun, the less mileage you get out of it before things fly off of it.
Right.
No matter who makes it or whatever. I mean, I don't know how many of you wear out a gun, but I've got a drawer full of them.
There's been a spot. I was talking to somebody and I was like, yeah, I sent my gun back to a certain company and they said that I'd shot it to pieces. And that guy was like, congratulations. And I was like, congratulations, my big toe. They charged me $165 to rebuild that gun. It wasn't congratulations. They're like, there are not a lot of people who got a certified letter that says that you shot your gun to pieces. Oh, okay. So my big toe's still not going to forget it.
It was funny. My grandfather years ago, he had bought an 870 Remington trap gun, and he shot trap a couple nights a week, and he had shot this gun to pieces.
Literally.
And actually, when you closed it, it rang like a bell. And it even had where his zipper on his jacket had ate through the plastic coating on the stock and cut a groove in the wooden stock from lifting it up to his shoulder all the time. And so he sent it back to Remington, and I think they charged him at that time was $140 for they put a brand new TB into his old crappy wooden stock.
Right.
So he's got this brand new gun with this old plastic coated stock that's all chewed up.
It's all war. It was really, it looked like he and a groundhog had danced with it. Right?
He went back out shooting, and he kept saying, everybody's like, how's the new gun? He's like, the barrel's bent. And so he took it to the Grand Nationals, and they rebent the barrel for him. And after that, he was good with it.
he was like, it's shooting. And, and most people are like, yeah, the barrel's not bent, it's you. And he's like, no, it's not me. It literally is.
The barrel was bent, so when you take it to the Grand Nationals, they have machines there. They bend it
and they straighten it back up. Yeah, look at it. So I'll tell you, I was shooting recently, and I had a gun this gun is notorious for spitting out front sights. And so I went to shoot the qualification drill, and I'm like, there's something wrong. I am not this bad of a shot. So I reached up, and I touched the front sight, and it moved like 1/4 of an inch. So I'm like, hold my hand up. I just pinched it to the center, proceeded to shoot the qualification, won what I needed to win, and moved on. But shot it to pieces. It's spitting out front sights. Hey, folks, we're wrapping up. We will catch you next week.
Okay, you ask yourself, who is this